Hello everyone, welcome to the Oracle of the Central Sun. I am Michelle. This video is about why Saturn is important at the moment and also why Saturn's rebirth is different this year than it usually is. So the rebirth of Saturn is all about Saturn being conjunct with the Sun. So this will happen once a year as the Sun moves around the zodiac. Saturn takes about 28 and a bit years around the zodiac, and the Sun takes a year. So once a year they will meet up. And this year feels very, very different because of three things. So first of all, very recently we had a very special conjunction between Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. Now this would have changed the energy of Saturn long term, as this meeting up of Saturn and Neptune was also the start of a new cycle. When two planets come together like that, what we feel subconsciously and energetically is that new moon phase. It's just like when the Sun and the Moon meet up together and the new cycle of the moon phases start. So when two planets meet up, this is also the start of a new cycle. So very recently we had Saturn and Neptune meeting up, starting a brand new cycle, and this was also extra special because it happened at 0 degrees of Aries. So this is a very great cycle for us in terms of our personal lives, because Aries is all about our uniqueness. It's all about pursuing our personal goals and bringing how unique we are to life and to the tribe and to the collective. So Saturn is new in the sense that it very recently met up with Neptune. Now, what is happening this week on the 25th of March is the cycle that I mentioned in the beginning. The new Sun-Saturn cycle is starting on the 25th of March. So the Sun is meeting up with Saturn at 4 degrees of Aries. And this is also a beautiful new cycle in terms of our individuality, in terms of our uniqueness and how we bring our unique qualities and offers into the world. And the Sun-Saturn cycle is a yearly cycle. It is a long-term goal-setting period and the start of a new phase. And Sun meeting up with Saturn is all about responsibility. It is about bringing a sense of maturity into our goals. It is about a restructuring of how we see life, how we see ourselves, how we see our uniqueness, individuality, and restructuring according to a new cycle now. Sun-Saturn is also about breaking through perceived ceilings. So Saturn is often that invisible ceiling that we think we can't get through. But Saturn is actually very mystical in the way that Saturn represents the breakthrough as well. So there's a real chance for breakthroughs this week and at the time of this conjunction. Sun-Saturn is a long-term goals because Saturn is so slow moving. Saturn is actually very much associated with crystals and crystal grids growing in the earth, because crystals grow so slowly over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And Saturn is very related to long-term, slow growth, and thus it is related to patience. And Sun-Saturn cycles is also about efficiency. The Sun brings that quality of being efficient to our long-term goals. So this new cycle starting this week is like a rebirth for Saturn. So when a planet is exactly in the heart of the sun, we also call it a gazimi, it is a rebirth. And this cycle can really bring us into feeling very independent, much stronger in how we present our uniqueness to the world, because it is happening in the sign of Aries. And Aries being ruled by Mars, this is very much an action-orientated energy in the sign of Aries. And with the Sun-Saturn conjunction happening here, we can really focus on long-term goals at the moment. We can feel so determined and inspired to really work with long-term things and bring long-term goals to fruition, and also have the stamina and the endurance to work with these long-term goals. So the card that showed up for this Sun-Saturn conjunction happening on the 25th of March is the King of Swords. And you can see the king is sitting very solidly on his throne. He is very grounded, even though this is a sword card, which is related to the air element. He has a sword in his hand. He has great authority as he is sitting there on the throne. So there is something about the Sun-Saturn conjunction this week that's really going to bring us clarity around our long-term vision, clarity about our long-term goals, clarity about how we are now going to present ourselves to the world and take action around how we see ourselves now in this new cycle. So the King of Swords is very much about wisdom, and wisdom is very related to Saturn as well. The King of Swords is about integrity, it's about clarity of mind, grounded communication. It is about leadership and really using our mental abilities for the great goodness of everyone. And it is also about asserting our ideas. So words, decisions based on maturity and real grounded principles is really what is represented here. And all of these things can be easier for us to achieve with this new Sun-Saturn cycle. And also there's a different energy here in terms of just a strength and determination to stick with something long-term in this new cycle. And then the third thing that makes this new rebirth of Saturn different is at the time of the Sun-Saturn conjunction, we also have something happening in terms of a Saturn and Pluto sextile. Now Saturn moves very slowly, Pluto moves even much slower. So the seed point that we had, the reset that we had, the new moon for Saturn and Pluto happened in January of 2020. And I realize this is a period of time that we all maybe want to forget, because it was quite a traumatic period that we all went through as humanity. At the same time, that reset that we experienced with Saturn and Pluto in January of 2020 was the beginning of letting things go that are no longer functioning in society, that are no longer functioning for us as individuals in the world. And now 6 years later, we now have the Saturn-Pluto sextile, meaning that they are now 60 degrees apart. So there's something of that reset that happened in January of 2020 that is now starting to come to light in terms of things Saturn and Pluto. Now again, Saturn is about time, it's about patience, it's about wisdom, determination, and Pluto is about depth. It is about working with our shadows. It is about bringing unconscious things to light. And it is about long-term transformation. Pluto moves so slowly and it retrogrades almost half the year. So that every single transformation that we go through with Pluto is long-term and really sticks with us. So the Sun sextile Pluto brings extra depth to the Sun conjunct Saturn that we are experiencing this week. And the Saturn sextile Pluto is also going to be exact this week on the 28th of March. And we will still be in this energy for about another month until the 25th of April. So there's a real transformation and long-term goals and determination that we can really tap into from now until the end of April. So for Saturn sextile Pluto, like I said, that long-term growth for the point that changed and was reset and seeded in January of 2020 can now start to become visible. We can really transform and overcome long-term obstacles. We can really feel endurance and determination to be with our long-term transformation. Our wisdom can really be deepened at this time. And we'll have an incredible focus on micro and macro details. Pluto brings this micro and macro capacity, and Saturn brings this incredible focus and determination. So we can really build our capacity at the moment to work with long-term goals, experiences, and transformation. And the card that showed up for Saturn sextile Pluto is the Queen of Wands. So I love this, that we have a king and a queen showing up today. Now the Queen of Wands, you can see she's sitting on the throne, also very grounded. She has a beautiful sunflower which represents the creativity and nature. And she has the wand very solidly on the ground, very grounded, very determined, and very confident in just being who she is, which is so much a part of all of these planets coming together in the sign of Aries at the moment. Now, the Queen of Wands is all about determination. The wand is that fire element where we bring our passion, our action, our determination into our experiences. The Queen of Wands is very independent. She's very confident. With a sunflower, she's very vibrant in who she is, and also connected to her intuition. And there's a lot of personal power here. You can feel how solid this card is, how her stance of how she's looking off into the distance while holding the wand in this card. There's such a sense of personal power here. This card is about inner strength, and it can also be around mentoring and sharing wisdom with others. So these are really beautiful energies showing up this week in terms of new cycles in terms of that very long-term cycle that we are walking with when it comes to Saturn and Pluto, where there is now growth, long-term things starting to come to light, and we can see growth from seeds that were planted 6 years ago. So really enjoy this week, and also for the next month, really work with your long-term goals. There's such a beautiful energy here to start and work with long-term things right now that can be very solid and very rewarding. So I also did a I Ching reading for this overall energy this week. So that means the Sun-Saturn conjunction as well as the Saturn sextile Pluto. And what showed up is a hexagram number 27, which in the little book of Changes by Peter Crisp, it's called Nourishing. And in my pocket I Ching, the Richard Wilhelm translation, it is called Providing Nourishment. And what this nourishing and providing nourishment is all about at this time, it is about what we take in. Nourishment is not only food, it is what we take in terms of people we spend time with, series we watch, podcasts we listen to, all of these things that we nourish ourselves with at this time are very important. Pay attention to what you eat. Try and make better decisions around what you put in your mouth, what you eat, what you drink. Really become aware of what you watch, what you listen to, who you spend time with, how all of these elements of what you take in is affecting you and affecting your long-term goals and your experiences that you want to have. So really focus on that element of nourishment at the moment, and play with making changes and differences and taking in new things and new opportunities and spending time with new people as well, and see how all of this affects your energy. So thank you so much for being here at this time. Enjoy the beautiful new cycle that we are starting with the Sun and Saturn, and also the sextile with Saturn and Pluto this week. And please share your comments and your likes. Please share with others if you find value here. And I am offering my monthly Moon Wisdom Lab that you can tap into from the new moon in April. And I'm also doing a special at the moment, starting this week when Venus moves into Taurus, where you can do a deep dive with me on getting to know your Venus in your chart, and also working with the Venus retrograde that we are going to be experiencing later this year. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon.